You ain't got one of them big screen thingies with yours?
One in the backpack, but I don't feel like writing on it.
Okay.
Oh man, chalk is cheap.
All right, so whenever you're ready, go ahead and start.
So I'm here sitting with Chris, the I guess head brewer at Fullsteam.
Yep.
We're going to talk about some of their beers. Would you like to say anything about the brewery or about the beers that we're going to be trying?
Yeah, well, man, we got quite a lineup here. There's a lot to talk about. I guess Fullsteam kind of strives to do local first as much as possible.
Right.
So we choose local grains, Riverbend being one of them. All the way down to yeast. We're now working with a yeast group down in, where are they? They're South Carolina. So we're picking up all sorts of local stuff.
Are you going to try maybe to propagate like a Durham yeast?
That is my lab woman is working on that.
Awesome.
She's been out a couple times picking up different swabs and trying to see what will grow.
Imagine that's a difficult task.
Well, watching her work, yeah. I mean, it's more than I'm willing to put in my day. She's definitely out trying to hunt down the next yeast for us.
Cool.
And hopefully we'll become not necessarily a house yeast, but something we use in quite a number of our beers.
Right.
So.
Well, speaking of beers, I don't have any.
Your beer is broken.
So I'm jealous of that half cup of beer that you've got.
I know. I'm slow drinking.
Let's.
I can set this aside. We can break into something.
All right.
What would you like?
That would be up to you, my friend.
All right. How about Common Good?
Okay, so that's Kentucky Common.
It's a Kentucky Common.
It's not a very, for lack of a better term, common style.
I have a bottle cap opener.
Excellent.
It's one of the things that we forgot, I guess.
I've got one on my belt too.
Oh, perfect.
So
no, it's not a common style, even though the name says so. We brew this with, this is one of our couple of beers that we do all local grain with. We did local barley, local corn, local rye. It all came out of North Carolina.
Excellent.
And
awesome.
so at least the grist, is local as possible. The hops we used, not so much yet. We're still working on that. We can't do whole hops in our kettle, and there's not much pelletizing going on in North Carolina just yet.
Right. I know Farm
they're
Boy
working
does
on that.
exclusively whole hops.
Yeah, they're working on that, and that's cool, and I'm hoping to be able to jump in on that as soon as I can.
I'm curious, why can you not do whole hops in your kettle?
The way our kettle's set up, it draws. It would draw the whole hops in and heat up, clog up our heat exchanger.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And that I don't want to tear it down. It's kind of we haven't quite figured out who makes it and where to get the gaskets from. So if we tear it down, we're kind of tearing it down and hoping that we can find gaskets for it. So we just make sure we pack it full of caustic and acid, and keep it as clean as possible. Try not to let too much run through it as far as hops and the ginger's the big deal right now when we do our Kakalaki.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely, we're pureeing ginger, and it definitely is stringy and causes problems. So we definitely are blowing out the heat exchanger with caustic as soon as we can get done with that.
Tell us a little about the uncommon Kentucky Common.
Yeah. So we do a funny mixed fermentation with this, so it's going to have the lactic tartness to it. And while I feel like I missed my color on it, but we're trying to mimic the color of bourbon. So it is on the browner side. We did use rye, barley, and corn in this.
It's got a nice apple tartness to it.
Yeah.
Like a Granny Smith almost.
Yeah, we used apple pomace from Foggy Ridge Farms. They're a cidery. I guess they're in Virginia. Okay. So we used their apple pomace in our hop back, and
Oh, so all that flavor's from a hop back.
Not all of it. Some of that lactic,
lactic
fermentation is going to create some of this apple tartness, apple cider.
And that's from Brettanomyces? Or
no, we didn't use any Brett in this. We used a mixed fermentation with it was basic lactobacillus.
Lactobacillus. Okay.
And then we used a very simple, very straightforward yeast, and that was 001 out of White Labs.
Oh, the Chico strain.
So so this is a funny fermentation. So what we do is we run off 2/3 of our beer into a fermenter, let the lactic basically do its job there. When we reach the right pH, we bring it back to the kettle, raise it to 180. By the time we're doing that, we've already got the other third fermenting with the straight yeast, and bring this.
Then you blend them together.
Blend them together, correct.
Oh, yeah. Wow, okay.
That way you have a little more control over the acidity.
Right.
Hopefully for reproducibility. It's something I picked up hearing other brewers talk about at CBC a number of years ago, and kind of blended that into my own technique, and came up with this. It takes up a couple extra tanks, but the end product, I think, is going to be a little more reproducible.
Right. Well, I mean, the lactobacillus can be a little unpredictable.
Sure. Yeah, and we choose hoses that are in our brewery that basically only deal with either hot water or hot wort. They don't deal with anything post hot side. So
keep the lacto out of.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So we keep them as separated as possible, and nothing but 185 degree water is going through them, and
that's going to kill the lacto anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or close to boiling hot wort going to our heat exchanger. Right. We just connect those two hoses together and make sure only those two hoses are used for hot liquor and for.
Although sometimes sour accidents can be delicious.
Yeah, and you're probably. I can only imagine you're bringing up the sour carver from.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. That actually was definitely unintentional. It ended up being a boiler issue. In the middle of our brew, the boiler died, and it was actually the control box. It was the flame control box that died, and we had the replacement coming. It just wasn't going to get there until the next day. So we actually had the wort collected in our kettle, ready to boil. We just didn't have a way to fire it. It had soured up overnight, surprisingly quick, and basically we felt it tasted good enough to go ahead and pursue and,
I thought it was excellent.
Ferment out and see how it goes. And that was a good example of some of the wild yeast that are on grains, and what is collecting on your wort before you boil it. And so we roll with that, we send it out anyway.
Well, let's get back to this particular beer. It's very light in body, and it's got
very dry.
It dries out. It's got that nice apple tartness to it. What was your inspiration for the recipe?
Really just trying to mimic a bourbon color, and trying to go with a similar grist that they would be using for bourbons, and trying to keep a clean sour, because sometimes you can find some of the sour mashes you got other bacteria working in them, doing funky things that we're trying to keep it as clean as possible. So we want a nice, clean, approachable sour beer, because you often hear, "Oh, sours aren't my thing," and I just can't get past this, can't get past that. And they have their reasons, they have their excuses, and then we can pass them this. So it is soured.
It's a pretty delicate sour, though.
It is.
You could probably, unless somebody knew, how lacto reacts and the flavors that it's going to produce, you could probably tell someone it was all the apple and get away with it. I mean, it's still, I don't know, it's still sour enough, but it's still it's a very delicate sour. So,
sure.
I mean, people that are afraid of sour beer should not shy away from this beer.
Yeah.
It's not like that back of the jaw.
No, it's definitely
wrenching
it's definitely
sour
not that. It is not necessarily a beginner's only sour, but it's approachable.
Yeah.
And that's what we go for.
Right.
Approachable beers for everybody, trying new things. Trying odd ingredients, that kind of stuff. So to do this beer and make it still with a nice tartness, yeah, it could be confused with some of the apple that we tossed in, but it still has that twang to it that
right.
only lactic is going to give you. It makes it very approachable.
Oh, it's delicious. This is the first time I've tried it, actually.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
Yeah, I Kentucky Commons are usually a little lighter. They're similar to California Commons, so I had never tried it, but this is good.
Yeah, it was one of those styles that there's not a lot on. So
That's
we
true.
Kinda
Yeah,
we took our take on it,
yeah.
and we gave it the coloring that we did to kind of reference the bourbon that it's coming from.
Cool.